Welcome, guys, to our next keynote. Right now with Hariesh, sorry, Manaadiar, I don't know how you pronounce it. You will do it better than I do. As long as you join, a quick introduction. Hariesh is probably the most successful blogger, website owner, I don't know how you want to call it, but he's the person behind Shipping and Freight Resource, that famous news content shipping and freight website with hundreds of thousands visits per month. And I'm pretty sure that because I read that all the time in your comments, that most of us probably use Shipping and Freight Resource as the main source for knowledge and education in our industry. So you probably helped an entire generation in shipping and freight to get along in their jobs. Today, your session, Hariesh, is going to be not less interesting. It will be about cost savings through digitalization in shipping. And without further ado, over to you and to everyone in the audience. Hariesh will be speaking for 20-25 minutes. And will be available for questions afterwards. So don't be shy. Say hi in the chat. Ask him questions, and we'll try to answer them in 20-25 minutes. But now, Hariesh, how can people in our audience save money, and how much?
Thanks for the introduction, Florian, and thanks for the opportunity to Container Exchange to present this interesting topic. To everyone else, welcome to the audience as well. My name is Hariesh Manaadiar. I'm the founder of Shipping and Freight Resource. Shipping and Freight Resource I started in 2008. It is what I call a definitive online resource for knowledge and information in terms of shipping, freight, maritime, logistics, trade, supply chain, and technology. And from time to time, also share news from or relevant news from various parts of the world in terms of what is happening in our industry, how it works, and everything else that is going on in this industry, which is a very, very dynamic industry. I've been fortunate to have been in the industry for the past 31 years. And as part of the Shipping and Freight Resource, I also provide marketing solutions for the freight industry in terms of lead generation and providing quality content. If you need somebody to write quality content, our team can help with that, or advertising your products or brand promotions, those kind of activities. I've got a readership of more than 39,000 people at the moment. And in terms of subscribers, and the site is visited by more than 120,000 people a month. So it's a good option, a good opportunity for you to showcase your products and services. So I'm sure this presentation will be shared. If you wish to engage further on this particular aspect, you can do through these resources. Now, to the topic at hand here. First of all, what is digitalization? Some of you who have attended the session last year in Hamburg might have seen this, but for those who may not have had the opportunity, I just want to refresh people's memories on what is digitalization. Digitalization is the use of digitization and digital technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, machine learning, all those technologies that are that have come to the forefront currently. You're incorporating everything into a package that will convert your business from a normal business to a digital business. Digital business is the future, and digital business is the way the rest of the world is going. So shipping should also take part in it. Some examples of digitalization that some of you might already be using is some digital freight platforms or digital platforms like the one that is hosting this summit. Container Exchange is a classic example of digitalization or a digital platform. You have electronic bills of lading, you have blockchain, you have paperless trade documentation, and automation, robotics, all that is, those are developing technologies, and some technologies have already been entrenched. Electronic bills of lading, for example, have taken off quite seriously around the world. And as per market reports, there's a potential to save about $4 billion in the industry per year if only 50% of the processes adopted electronic bills of lading. And right now, there are a lot of choices in the electronic bill of lading area. At the moment, there are 6 electronic bill of lading platforms that have been approved by the international group of P&I clubs, which is very, very important when you are releasing a bill of lading or when you're receiving a bill of lading. You need to be sure that these are covered properly. And blockchain has also proved its capabilities over the last 2 or 3 years in the field of shipping, especially through data transmission and stuff. So, which we will delve into a little bit later. Then there are other example would be smart containers. Smart containers are containers that have specific devices, tech devices that allow you to track the container exactly where it is based on GPS location. So wherever in the world the container is, as long as there is a signal, you can track your container so you know where your container is at all times. Then you still have automated ports around the world, in China, in Europe. There are many uses of automated ports as well. Obviously, safety is one of the features. But why do we need digitalization? This is also a question, because shipping and freight as an industry has been working for centuries, in fact, and has been carrying on for many years in the same way it has been carrying on. So why do we need digitalization all of a sudden? Well, to start off with, the main reason is the world trade is growing, as you can see in the slide here. World trade and GDP has grown by 26% since 2008, and that is a big number to grow. And in terms of value, it is currently sitting in 2019. As of 2019, it is sitting at $19.05 trillion, the global trade. And ships are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You will see from the evolution of container ships from 1968 to 2020, the difference. And from 2010, from 2012, almost every year there has been a new largest container ship in the world. And right now we're sitting at in 2020 with HMM Algeciras, which is the biggest container ship at the moment. And the types of ships are also increasing in terms of sizes and in terms of values. If you see this chart, just gives a brief introduction about the various vessel types and the value of each. So, for example, if you look at offshore vessels, for example, it is only sitting at a 4.1% in terms of deadweight capacity, but in terms of value, it is 18.4%. So it does not always match, but this is how the ship space is moving. And as per recent statistics, the container market is expected to grow, and it has been growing quite rapidly, and it is still expected to grow, COVID notwithstanding. But this is the projected growth from 2015 to 2021. Some of this is actual figures, some of them are projected. And as we speak, at the moment, there's 23 million TEUs in circulation around the world across various trade lanes, across various on various ships. In fact, there are 6,135 container carrying ships, and of which 5,435 are fully cellular. So you can see there's a huge demand and huge supply also of ships and containers. But simultaneously, paperwork is increasing. Day by day, people are struggling with paperwork. People are struggling with coping up with all these volumes. Now, if you imagine doing all this manually, it is a nightmare. I don't think anybody can cope up with doing all these trade activities manually with all these paperworks, with the number of shipments increasing and the demand from customers. So some of the drivers of digitalization we will look at now. The main driver is the need for speed, because we have this pressing need for speed from us as a consumer. I mean, for all cases, we are the consumer, the end consumer that receives goods that we ourselves are shipping. For example, if you place an order for a pair of Air Jordans online, we are constantly chasing it. We want to know where it is, when is it arriving, and we get impatient. But sometimes the people who are not involved in the industry forget how much or how many processes are involved in getting that pair of Air Jordans to the consumer. It is a massive process, and those of you who are in the industry know how that works. And the need for speed also brings around improved efficiency. We need to improve the efficiency. The speed can be achieved only if we improve efficiency in getting those Air Jordans to the customer as quickly as possible. So digitalization and the usage of data can it definitely assists in the delivery of the goods in the shortest possible time to the consumer. We can identify which is the closest fulfillment location, and from there move it to the consumer. And as we all know, and as I just mentioned also, the process of shipping hasn't changed in the last few decades, and it's not going to change, because you carry a cargo from point A to point B, you can't change that, and it has to be a physical movement. But and in terms of freight rates, there will be a difference of a few $100s here and there between shipping lines. But what has been changing and will continue to change is the service levels that is offered to the customers. And digitalization, or for the companies that have digitalization or have digitalized their processes, it gives a huge advantage. It is a huge edge to those who have it and practice it. And also, one of the main drivers is the new competition models that have appeared on the shipping landscape, like digital freight forwarders or e-commerce giants like Amazon going out on their own, becoming their own forwarders, investing in their own assets, logistics assets, etc. And while I don't see the traditional freight forwarders going out of business anytime soon, or even not at all, there is this proliferation of digital freight forwarders and digital players in the market, and traditionalists need to catch up to that. So that is also a driver which is pushing digitalization more and more on a daily basis. And the need for speed and improved efficiency, the requirement to differentiate, and also catering for the newer competition models have all brought the expectation of integration into the industry, and for the suppliers to provide an end-to-end logistics service. So that has become very, very important. And handling such activities is not possible without a solid digital backing, and especially considering the volumes and the paperwork that needs to be that people need to go through. And with all these advances in shipping, as I mentioned, all these large container ships coming in, smart containers coming in, paperless documents, and all of these has its own costs. And so to cover those costs, the carriers and the service providers need to utilize their services, whether it is filling up the allocations on the ship or booking space. So they have to all relook at the cost models, and that is also a reason why, or one of the main drivers of digitalization. But in the recent past, the biggest accelerator of digitalization has to be COVID. COVID has changed many things for the worse, but it could also accelerated certain processes, and digitalization is one of the processes that it seems to have accelerated as it goes by. Now, as I mentioned, digitalization is becoming a must, but at the same time, one of the key areas of digitalization is also cost saving. And how do we save cost? The first saving would be time, and as everybody knows, time is money. So if you save time, you can definitely save on cost. You can definitely improve your processes. You can improve your efficiencies. So digitalization helps us in saving time, first of all, which converts to cost. Second area where it saves is in avoiding errors, because many of these errors are caused by miscalculations, overcharging, additional charges that you're not catered for, or purely because you didn't do any freight invoice audits. So those kind of cost errors, digitalization can also save, because there are systems that can do all of this for you right now. And probably the biggest area would be saving on avoidable costs through predictive technology. And what are avoidable costs? Avoidable costs are something like storage, demurrage, detention. These three costs combined together can create such an impact on the customer's bottom line that sometimes they decide, hey, I don't need this cargo, or I don't want this cargo because it is costing me so much to pay for demurrage, detention, storage. All those costs put together could sometimes outweigh the cost or value of the goods, and they can just say, okay, we're not interested in the cargo anymore, and abandon the cargo. But cargo abandoning is also an issue, because then it gets to a stage where somebody has to pay for it, and a lot of the times it could be the carrier, or it could be the freight forwarder, because they just made the booking. So these are some areas where you can definitely avoid these costs, or these avoidable costs. And if you look at what are the causes of these avoidable costs, some of the main issues are documentation. Documentation is the key issue, and that is where digitalization can really help in avoiding these costs. Documentary delays, there's incorrect documentation, sometimes documents are lost, sometimes there are custom stops or police stops, which also adds to the delay, which will create more costs like storage and demurrage. And another key factor is the lack of visibility, because people don't know where the containers are, where it is coming from, where it is stuck, if it is stuck somewhere. And just sometimes it's all plain old laziness, because somebody somewhere didn't do something they were supposed to do. Now, overcoming these avoidable costs through digitalization is possible, because we can use there are several TMS, transport management systems, or WMS, and other systems, digital freight platforms that are available, which can assist the customers in managing and avoiding excess inventory. Avoiding excess inventory is very, very essential to many of the retail customers or automotive customers, for example, because the storage cost can boomerang. And if you're able to plan your shipments in good time, you will be able to avoid these costs. And you can also identify and solve pain points through these predictive analysis. Like, there are systems that can provide you free time optimization analysis and weigh, for example, in which port you are spending more money in demurrage or storage, or which port has more free time, which carrier is giving more free time. So these kind of things can be analyzed through the digital platforms that are available, and these will definitely help you in helping analyzing the demurrage and detention bills, the storage bills, and you can use that in a more productive way. As I mentioned, documentation is one of the key issues, and right now, in the current practice, you send a document through courier, through post, through air freight, through many various different means, and it can take anything between 5 to 7 days to reach your customer. And some of the shipping routes, you have a transit time of 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and you may not get the buyer might not get the documentation in time. And for that also, the digital platforms will help you transfer documentation within a few seconds. And you can also use digitalization to save costs through smart procurement. Digital platforms available for that. So how far are we really with digitalization in shipping? How far have we reached? Where are we? So if you look at that, on my site, we recently conducted a survey with Ocean Insights, where we said, will you change your strategy now, because COVID has created havoc around the world? We started asking questions whether your strategies in terms of digitalization will be changed. 42% said yes, they're going to change their strategy, and 28% said maybe. So if you include that, that is a huge percentage of people, about 70% of people want to or will be changing their digitalization process. And through another survey with the Haven, and which we used to find out industry's readiness to invest in freight technologies, a whopping 50% said they don't use any software, freight management software, and they're doing things manually. Whereas part of them said they're using part digital, part manual. Then there were and majority of the concerns were related to manual processes and waiting for quotations. So these are all areas where digitalization can definitely help customers, whether you're a shipper or a freight forwarder. It can definitely help in overcoming these issues for all these delays. And when we looked at the level of automation of the processes, you could see in different areas it was different. But as you can see here, majority of the levels were for digital levels were very, very low. In quotations, it was only 7%. The highest was track and trace, which is still at 12%, but it's still not enough because manual processes are still 30% of people are still using manual processes of tracking and tracing, which means pick up the phone and speak to the shipping lines or go to individual shipping line websites and track and trace your containers. So we have smart containers, yes. We have smart bills of lading, yes. We have smart ships, we have smart ports, we have smart contracts, we have smart warehouses. But smart people, it's my lips are sealed on that for now. So what is the point of all this? The point of all this is that the digitalization cannot create awareness. Digitalization can help you. Digitalization is a tool to help you manage your business better, to save costs, and to progress further in the industry. But it cannot create awareness. The people and the companies and staff or the employees who are working in that company, they must create that awareness themselves or understand that awareness themselves. So they need to understand the processes, what is happening, how things are working, and also understand the client's requirements, their pain points, and try to see how it can be done. And they must understand, main thing is they must understand that the digitalization has limits. It's not a quick fix. If you start today, it will take you at least 6 to 9 months. That is one of the things that Thomas also mentioned earlier in his presentation. It takes 6 to 9 months for this whole thing to come to fruition. So, and people should not adopt technology just because they want a fancy technology or say they're using something fancy. But everybody must be ready to start implementing digitalization in their processes, in their businesses, and see how it can save costs for all of us. I can take any questions if you have.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Hariesh. I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, you take your time to type in questions for Hariesh. Meanwhile, we have 2 questions from the audience already. I just read them out loud and then we go through them, Hariesh. Are there different ways of thinking of cost savings when you're standing in a financial crisis and when the market is normal? Probably related to COVID now and how people deal with digitalization now that people work from home, budgets got slashed and so on. How do you think about that?
Well, cost saving becomes especially relevant and important, especially in financial crisis or when we are facing crisis like COVID, for example. And when the market is normal, people didn't think so much about it. But as I mentioned, right now, more than the driver of digitalization, COVID has become an accelerator of digitalization. So if you have those kind of technologies available to you, especially in a financial crisis, this is when digitalization is important. And we don't know when the next crisis will come or what the next crisis is. So if you didn't have these opportunities right now, or when we were faced with this financial crisis, it is always better to plan. And if you can look at your business and say where you can invest a little bit more into the business, into streamlining your processes a lot more through digitalization, and see how we can reduce the cost impact. So when when the next crisis hits, financial or trade or commercial or otherwise, any kind of crisis, you can always shape your businesses suitably to get over that crisis.
Yeah. Thanks. And I think the next question is related to that one pie chart you showed for the study together with Ocean Insights. By the way, they will also speak at the DCS in about 2 or 3 hours, so don't miss their session. I think it's connected to the pie chart where you showed how people think that COVID accelerates their digitalization. Do you have a few concrete examples how, especially if I look at the question, how especially smaller companies can digitize their business and what is needed for them to change?
Yeah, definitely. The beauty of digitalization and these new age technology platforms is that you do not need to buy the whole ERP system or the whole system as a complete product. There are certain platforms that are offering bite-sized technology options. So if you want only container tracking or only freight invoice audits or only, for example, documentation modules, there are companies that are selling those in that manner. So if you're a small company and you have a specific pain point, like for example, if you're using 10 people to create documentation, you can reduce that number through digitalization, which might help you in that process. And as you grow through that process, you can always add on, because there are several options available as plug-in as plug and play. So these are some of the strategies that you can use. So you do a complete audit of your system or your business and see where you spend, what is taking up most of your time, what is taking up most of your money, and try to see from the market what sort of digital options are available, because there are off-the-shelf products, there are products that can be customized, there are products that are completely integrated, so you don't need to do anything. Of course, systems like SAP, for example, and stuff are super expensive for certain people, but those are certain things that you can do as a strategy.
Yeah, thanks, Hariesh. And we've got another question from Prasan. He says, "Hey, Hariesh, thanks for the presentation. My question to you is on the topic of IoT devices for smart containers. Is this technology a worthwhile investment in the present day environment? And I would like to know on how soon do you think that this technology would be widely accepted and used by the entire industry?"
Well, that's a good question. Smart containers, especially, is growing exponentially. Lines like MSC and Maersk, Zim lines, many of them have really jumped into this wholeheartedly. And some of my other contacts have also. There was also a shipping line that has completely made their container fleet smart. The 20,000 containers of theirs is smart. So devices like smart containers or technologies like smart containers is definitely taking off, and it has shown its importance in the business of, for example, reefer containers, where you can monitor where a refrigerated container claim it's very, very expensive, and any failures should be notified immediately. And when you have that information at your fingertips, you can always communicate with the ship or communicate with the port or communicate with the transporter and say, hey, I'm seeing this temperature setting is off, or the vent setting is off, or the humidity is not right, or some door is open, or equipment malfunction. There's many such things that you can track and pick up from a smart container, which when you communicate effectively and immediately to the people involved, it can save you and your customers a lot of time, money. So definitely this is the future. Smart containers is definitely the future. At some point we will see every container will be smart. I have no doubt in my mind about that.
Thanks a lot, Hariesh. Thanks a lot, everyone in the audience. We have a few seconds left. So if you don't already follow Shipping and Freight Resource and what Hariesh does, go and check out their website. Just type it into Google. It's super easy to find. We make this webinar session available after the DCS as well. We'll send it around. Hariesh will share it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us, Hariesh. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for the opportunity again, Flo, and thanks to all the attendees and for the questions. These are things that make shipping and freight interesting. And as Florian mentioned, please do head over to the site also. There are many questions people ask there as well.
Could not better summarize it. Thanks a lot, Hariesh. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you in the next session with Patrick Berglund from Xeneda.
Bye-bye.
Bye.